This is a sufficient assumption question. We can tell because if we have the assumption, then the conclusion follows logically. So the assumption is sufficient to guarantee that we're going to have a valid argument, to guarantee that our conclusion is true based on the premises. And the conclusion is here after the it follows that. The point is that M has twice as many cans as L, and they make a pretty compelling argument. They hit a lot of the important bases. For example, they tell us that all the cans have the same amount of aluminum, so we're not assuming that. And then they tell us 50% of the aluminum in M was recycled from L. So I would sort of draw a picture of this. This will represent the cans in group L, and that was all recycled into group M. So group M, half of its aluminum came from L. So we'll sort of represent that here, and I'm not sure where the other half of its aluminum came from. And they said all of the cans in L went into M, so we know that this whole group got put into M. And there's nothing really else in cans. The amount of material other than aluminum is negligible. Cans are basically all aluminum. And so this is actually like a pretty compelling argument. It's actually hard to see the assumption ahead of time. It seems like M is going to have twice as many cans. As long as all of this material ends up here, let's say we had like 16 cans here, and that ends up being half of M, sounds like M kind of has to have 32 cans as long as all the material makes it in. So I don't want to cheat. I kind of know how this is going to go, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's easy to see ahead of time. So I'm going to call this tough to anticipate and talk about how we should proceed through the answer choices if it's not easy to find the assumption. Let's go ahead and check them out. So the filter question here, the one that you ask yourself when you're processing the answer choices, that's the most important thing. And I want the right answer to have two criteria. First, I want it to help the argument in a way that I couldn't foresee. It's got to add something useful, and it's also got to guarantee the conclusion. So after I read each answer choice, I'm going to ask myself, is that helpful, and does it guarantee the conclusion? So A tells us that the cans in M can't be recycled further. So remember, L looks like this. I had to erase it to move into the answer choices. L got recycled into M, and A is telling us that these guys cannot be recycled further. Well, that's irrelevant. That doesn't really help guarantee that M has twice as much as L. I don't see that being helpful, and I don't see it as a guaranteer. Recycled aluminum is of poorer quality than unrecycled aluminum. The quality of it is irrelevant. That doesn't help guarantee this conclusion, and it's not adding any value to the argument. So those two things are what I'm still looking for. All of the aluminum in an aluminum can is recovered when the can is recycled. I can see that we would need that, right? We're sort of assuming that. If this weren't true, if you lost some aluminum along the way, like let's say L started with 16 cans, but you only get 15 cans worth of aluminum out of it, then M isn't going to have twice as much as L. We were assuming that all of the aluminum gets recovered. And that's really tough to see up front, but now that answer choice C is posing that to us, you can see that it helps, and you can also see that it kind of guarantees the conclusion. If this has 16 cans worth of aluminum, and it's all recovered, and it all went into here, that pretty much guarantees that M is going to end up with 32 cans, twice as much. And so C is both helpful and a guaranteer. But let's see what's wrong with D and E. D says none of the cans in L were made from recycled aluminum. Well, we don't really care where these guys came from, right? That's not relevant, and it's not helping guarantee our conclusion. So aluminum cans are more easily recycled than other cans made of other materials. Well, this is going to be an irrelevant comparison. We really don't care about how easy it is to recycle other materials. So that's not helpful, and it's not going to guarantee our conclusion. So really, we're almost treating this like a strengthen question. We were looking for the answer choice that was helpful, and then the secondary thing is, well, I can see how that helps. Does it also guarantee the conclusion? And C is doing the job. We were 90% of the way there to begin with. The premises were pretty good here, but C is that last little step that we need to guarantee the conclusion.